Dear Father Simon and the Mayonettes, that's you.
What?
That's great. I love that.
That's not sticking.
I'm going to have that.
No.
The Mayonettes.
Have a T-shirt.
I love that.
I'll have 2 T-shirts. It was the summer of 1977, says Dave, and I was a 17-year-old member of the local karate club. And I have to tell you something of a leading light, having just gained the lofty rank of a brown belt. I also had a matching set of dark brown locks which hung fashionably down to my shoulders. I fancied myself as something of a ladies' man, and it was obvious that some of the young ladies at the club found me really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Look, there goes Dave,
With his locks.
they would say. One in particular, a pretty 18-year-old greenbelt, we will call her Susan, almost certainly changed, caught my eye, and when her mum used to turn up to collect her, at 18? Anyway, I always took the opportunity to show off a little, while Susan stared admiringly at me. Whether she was admiring my hair or my general movement, or maybe both, it's difficult to say. Eventually, I summoned up enough courage to ask her out, and she said yes. As my parents were going out for the evening the following week, I invited her round to my house for some nibbles to watch a movie, and Susan agreed.
Yes, he did.
How about that?
Good
When
news.
was this? Is this the
1977.
1970s? Yes,
1977. Okay.
Yeah.
The great day came when Susan was due to come round. After getting rid of my parents with a cheery, "Bye then, don't rush home, I'm going to be fine," I showered and sprayed myself liberally with high karate
Of course.
deodorant. Everyone at the karate club must have smelt exactly the same.
Yeah.
Looking in the mirror, I decided to trim my lovely locks with a device I'd bought, which was popular at the time. It was basically a razor blade sandwiched between 2 combs. Makes it sound like an offensive weapon rather than a hairstyle. This is perfect for National Hairdressing Awards
Of
night.
course it is,
isn't it?
yeah.
It was meant to take a small length of the curls off. I selected the setting for 1/4 of an inch and set about my Donny Osmond lookalike locks.
This is so going wrong, isn't it?
All was well until, in a rush of youthful exuberance, I dug in a little bit too hard on the top front bit of my head. I think that's called your forehead.
Dug in on
Into
his
your fringe.
head.
with the razor blade. Horror of horrors, I was left holding a fistful of hair and was staring at a shiny bald patch of pale skin, about 2 inches square with a little bit of blood.
Oh, no.
In a blind panic, I realised that this was going to scupper any notions I had of a romantic evening in with Susan, the greenbelt, and with shaky hands I attempted a Bobby Charlton comb-over. It made absolutely no difference at all, and I still looked like a Shaolin monk from the Kung Fu TV series, which was popular at the time.
Yes,
He's really
it
into the
was.
martial arts thing here. Then I had a brilliantly simple idea. I went downstairs and dug out a tin of black shoe polish and quickly rubbed quite a lot over the offending area. It stung just a little. A quick adjustment of the surrounding follicles, and with the bathroom lights switched off, it looked completely normal again. The evening was still on. Check me out with my brown belt moves. With 20 minutes to go before Susan was due to arrive, I switched off and dimmed as many lights as I could, and smelling slightly over-deodorized, I waited Susan's arrival. On time, Susan duly arrived, and after waving a cheery goodbye to her mum, remember, Susan is 18, and her mum is taking her to this guy's house and driving her to the karate lesson. I think Susan has her mum over a barrel. That's what I think.
Right.
What is going
I think
on?
it's quite right. I think
Is
that
that
should
quite
happen.
right?
If you're walking out together, yeah. You're,
Okay.
Walking
Anyway,
out
so
together.
Susan duly arrived. After waving a cheery goodbye to her mum, who dropped her off, I guided her into the front room. "It's a bit dark in here," Susan says.
Yeah.
"I know, it's romantic," I replied. Setting up the Betamax recorder with a copy of
Fabulous.
Enter the Dragon, we settled on the sofa. And all went well. Nibbles were nibbled, Bruce Lee battered his enemies, and Susan and I snuggled. I'm just going to
Yes, let's
skip that next bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we were snuggling. Eventually, it was time for Susan to go home, and I rang for a taxi. The taxi arrived, and as I escorted her to the front door, the light from the lamp outside revealed the awful truth. Where our romantic entanglement had gone a bit overboard, Susan's face and neck were now covered in black shoe polish.
Oh, no.
She looked like Bruce Lee had used her for a warm-up fight or a commando on battle manoeuvres. What a state! I quickly jumped in front of the hallway mirror so she couldn't see herself. "Thanks for a lovely evening," Susan said, her 2 eyes sparkling like a pair of diamonds on a black velvet pillow. Dave, suddenly he's gone Mills and Boon.
He has.
Sparkling like a pair of diamonds on a black velvet pillow. Anyway. Yeah, it was great. Let's do it again really soon, I mumbled, almost pushing her out of the door. Susan left and I quickly bolted the door firmly shut. In case she broke, back in.
In case.
Let me in, I need a tissue. Father Simon.
What for?
To wipe this
Oh,
stuff
I
off
see.
my
Off.
face.
Yeah, your face.
Your mum's face. Anyway, Father Simon asked for forgiveness from Susan, who after 40 years must still be wondering where the shoe polish came from. From the taxi driver who probably thought I was a teenage homicidal maniac. And finally from Susan's poor mother who probably had nightmares wondering what had happened to her lovely daughter who she drove everywhere. And then dropped her off at a house with someone who wore boot polish to cover the gap in his hair. Took 2 months for a reasonable covering of hair to help me forget. And whilst I'm still practising karate after all these years, my nickname at the club isn't Killer or Destroyer, it's Cherry Blossom. Isn't that nice? So Dave Cherry Blossom in Harrogate. It's not, shoe polish is just never going to be a good thing. But that hair device, that hair cutting device with 2 combs with a blade in between the two, probably TV advertised, don't you think?
Yes.
And some celebrity endorsed it. Anyway, what do you say, Sister Bobby, with that one?
It's 1977. Did they have Betamax recorders back then?
Probably.
Wow, I thought we only had a kind of 3-button TV back then. So that was quite something, wasn't it? Really, there must have been a posh house.
I think you've gone slightly. I don't think that's the heart. I don't think the Betamax recorder is the heart of this tale.
I know, I've gone off on a tangent, so apologies. But what's really sad about this is you thought you were so suave. You got a girl back to your place, got her into the house.
Hi, karate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Got close and all that. The thing is, why didn't she notice? It smells. Boot polish smells. Surely,
does actually, doesn't it?
When she had her head buried in his fringe, then she should have maybe should have smelt it.
And anyway, what's she doing? What's she doing?
What? Go on. Go on, please.
Anyway.
She's wiping her cheeks on his head.
Yes.
What's going on there?
And she probably got on. Anyway, moving on. The thing is, if he'd have just told her, they'd have probably had just an even better date. Instead of trying to pretend to be Mr. Suave, he should have said, look what I've done. And she'd have loved it, because we've all, cut our fringe too short. I'm sure. Not all, but most, maybe. Some,
No.
me.
Yeah. Anyway, so
therefore forgiven. I can't remember.
Okay.
Even I sound like Matt
Yes.
now.
Yes.
What was the
Forgiven.
question? Forgiven.
Brilliant.
Yes.
That's why it's so good. I think the reason why she can't smell the boot polish is because he's been doused in high karate.
That's true.
And also, fair play to him for only using things and watching things that have got some kind of karate involvement. So he's
It's a
only
bit
watching
obsessive.
Monkey, Enter the Dragon, and wearing high karate. Good for you, Dave. I'm going to say forgiven because, we all, when going through the vagaries of first encounters, we do things
Courting.
that we're courting and stepping out. We all do things that maybe in the cold light of day don't seem
Like what?
Like what?
I have no
Tell
idea.
us.
But obviously not. I mean, wearing boot polish on your head appears to be a step too far.
Yes.
But I think still well done for getting through the night. And yes. And what was she doing it with on her face? Who knows? But a lovely night had by all.
So therefore,
Forget.